We will call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees for St. Petersburg College, November 14th. If you would all please stand. Mayor Foster will lead us in an invocation.
Gracious Father, we just take a moment, we pause, we clear our heads, our thoughts, and we come to you, Father. We thank you for your guidance, your direction. We thank you for your blessings. We especially are grateful for your grace. Father, we pray that you will bless St. Petersburg College. We're so grateful for its leadership. We're so grateful for the students, the faculty that teach them, the staff that support them. Father, we are grateful for this institution of higher learning. We pray that the students will learn and be successful. We pray that you will guide and direct us in your path as we make decisions affecting the college today. Father, guide us and direct us in your will. Bless our military wherever they are. We thank you for those men and women represented on the boards outside of this room, for their sacrifice, for their courage. We pray for their families. We lift them up. We pray for the city. Guide and protect and keep us. Forgive us when we fail you. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. You may be seated. We will first move on to some announcements. We would like to invite up Ms. Frances New to the podium.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Morning.
members of the board, and Dr. Williams. I'm so pleased to announce this morning that the foundation has received a grant of $50,000 from Verizon to establish a scholarship for minority and other underrepresented students at St. Petersburg College. With this, Verizon joins a growing number of business partners supporting the college through the foundation. In fact, just yesterday we were looking at some numbers, and 6 or 7 years ago, the foundation had a small handful of business partners. Today, I'm happy to report to you that we have over 70 business partners that are supporting the college through scholarships and other programs. I want to give special thanks to Dr. Williams and Trustee Gibbons for supporting this application, and also to Jody Craig from the foundation office. Stand up, Jody. She developed the grant, submitted it, and has been working with Verizon. This scholarship will also give special preference to St. Petersburg College students who, after they receive their AA here, are interested in attending Florida A&M University. So with that, it gives me great pleasure now to introduce to you our representative from Verizon, Mr. Eric Wingard.
Good morning. It's a privilege for me as a Verizon employee to come out and talk about how Verizon is investing in the local community. And we wouldn't be able to do that without institutions such as St. Pete College working so hard to bring further education to our underrepresented students. So thank you all for all the work that you do, and may this be the beginning of a long partnership between Verizon and St. Pete College. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank Katie Schultz for her work with this initiative as well. She played a huge role in making sure that we got the paperwork done and turned in on time, so thank you, Katie.
Thank you again to Verizon. That's a fantastic partnership. Hopefully we can continue that into the future, and it really means a lot to this institution to be able to partner with corporations and businesses within our community to, of course, help the students of this area. So thank you to Verizon. We'd now like to introduce Dr. Misty Kemp.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm not Misty Kemp. Members of the board, Dr. Williams, I am pleased to introduce Misty Kemp. Misty has been with us for about 3 or 4 years. She was our Director of Title III. She has now stepped into the position of Executive Director of Retention Services / Director of Title III. She brings with her about 18 years of experience working with federal grants such as TRIO, Student Support Services. She will oversee accessibility services, veteran services, Women on the Way, the College Reach Out program, and oversee the MLK Day of Service. So, Misty Kemp.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Williams. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on this morning to comments, and I'd like to start first by thanking Vice Chair Cole for helping me out last month as I was away and out of town. And I had the opportunity to attend only for an hour and a half to 2 hours, unfortunately, Discovery Day a couple weeks ago at the Clearwater campus, and it was such a fantastic opportunity to see the energy of what's going on right now between the campuses and with St. Pete College as a whole. I was impressed and reminded again of how much has happened over the past few months since President Williams has taken on her role, and I know it was discussed a little bit last month at the board meeting, but I'd like to add my thanks to everyone through this transition period, and I know we'll hear more about that later, but also with Hurricane Irma and what that brought to the campus as far as making people be flexible, to say the least. But it's an amazing thing to see the communication that we have going on right now, and I hope to see that continue on. One thing it did open my eyes to again, and this happens every single time I visit a campus, is how much I still want to learn about everything that goes on here. So I'd like to have an opportunity every few weeks to be either on a campus or in a classroom or just observing things that go on at St. Pete College. And it doesn't need to be work-related all the time. President Williams and I talked about this last week. It can also be fun, so I'd love to be scheduled for some basketball games or volleyball games or something of that effect. So I bring it up now only so that I'm reminded of it. And Deborah and Rebecca, perhaps you can keep me on point with this as we move forward. But what an exciting institution we're part of. There's some amazing things going on, and it's because of all of you. And I'm so happy to be here. And with that, board members, any comments today?
I would like to echo the chair's sentiments of what an exciting time, and I was privileged to be able to travel to Seattle with some members of the executive administration team for the final Pathways presentation and program and workshops, which was in a very intense few days, and I was only there for a day and a half, and in lots of meetings during those times, and the skill and the just positive momentum that St. Petersburg College has, the respect that it earns among the national organization and the other community colleges, and speaking to the Association of Community College members who were there, the other presidents, it was just, I could be nothing but proud to be on the board of trustees of this institution. So thank you for the opportunity to travel and be part of that Pathways planning program very much.
Ditto.
Any other comments from the board?
Real quickly, I was honored to be a part of the Moving the Needle conference last week, and although there was some feedback from the students that I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, The thing that I loved, one of the things that I loved when Dr. Williams was interviewing was her commitment to convene the conversation. And I really felt like we did that last week. And we were a part of economic development because when they asked how many people were not from Florida, it was more than half the room that raised their hands. And I thought that was really cool too. So I was glad to be a part of it. Thank you very much. And thanks for doing things like that for our community because that's huge.
We will move on to president comments.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, thanking trustees Cole and Gibbons, also trustee Bello for being active and involved. I definitely know that the college family is eager to have you guys on campus. I was with Clearwater last week, and the faculty suggested that the board come around and be seen. And so for you to volunteer to do that, that's even icing on the cake. So I appreciate that. A lot has happened since we last met. I visited downtown, the Epi Center in Clearwater, spending time with students, faculty, and staff to see the best and brightest. It was their schedule, so they took me around and showed me what they wanted me to see. And I got to learn about chemistry and microbiology and college algebra and communications. And I also got to see the learning centers from a different light and to see the work that needs to be done. Sit down with some of the provosts and other team members to hear what's going on. Friday night, I was honored, nothing that I have done, but SPC was given the Student Workforce Initiative of the Year in partnership with JP Morgan. And it was so much energy in the room and opportunities for us to expand our CCIT work and where we're going. And I was very proud that we were one of the recipients. So hats off to Dr. Setterlin and her team for that work. We also had our physical therapy assistant accreditation visit. We got through that. We had our respiratory care visit for accreditation. We got through that with flying colors. Our Model UN won the Outstanding Delegation Award, and that is the highest award that is bestowed upon the Model UN and students. I was very proud of them for that, and many of them are actually our younger students. And so they won that. The men's basketball team had their ring ceremony from being the state champs from last year. I went to that. Our volleyball team is going to nationals. They were third in the state. I had pizza with the president up here at the Tarpon campus, and it was college-wide with students. Trustee Bello, you would have heard a lot more voices. And it wasn't all complaints. I'm sharing that as I go around to the campuses, it's a lot of here's what we do and here's how we can do it better. Here's what we need. Dr. Williams, we want this. Can we try this? And so the creativity is definitely coming forward. And then the last thing I want to share, I have a lot, but I'll cut it down, is I just want to thank Trustee Foster. You took over the chair role of the board at a very critical time, and you stepped right in, and you rolled up your sleeves, and you did the hard work. Not just because I got hired, but just keeping the college running and keeping things moving forward. And I want to recognize you for that work. And I want to give you a trustee chair award. And so, Trustee Stonecipher, you will join. It takes a lot of bravery to take on the chair role of a college this big on such a short notice with such a big job. So thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Foster.
Thank you.
I do not have any public comment cards in front of me, so with that, I believe we can move on to a review and approval of minutes from
Mr.
last
Chair.
month. Yes, sir.
I move that we accept the minutes from October 17, 2017.
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved. At this time, we'll move on to month of reports. Is there anything from our board attorney
No report this month. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
and anything from our general counsel?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, trustees,
morning.
Dr. Williams. I do have a report on some board business. As you were made aware, on October 31st, Dr. Marvin Bright filed a petition with the board requesting an administrative hearing as provided in the statutes regarding his termination from employment. Chapter 20 of the statutes and the implementing state board regulations provide the process for granting and conducting an administrative hearing. So I've conferred with Mr. Lang, our board attorney, as well as the counsel of our labor attorney, Mr. Mark Levitt of Allen Norton & Blue, who has been appointed in the matter. The college has retained the firm of Allen Norton & Blue as outside labor counsel for many, many years, decades. The firm has represented many institutions around Florida and many, many state colleges. Mr. Mark Levitt has represented the college in numerous cases over the span of several decades. He's a partner in the firm, has over 30 years experience in labor and employment law. So we've asked Mr. Levitt to provide the board with an overview of the statutory process for the administrative hearing under Chapter 120 of the Florida statutes, and also ask for his recommendation regarding the administrative handling of the petition and a possible referral to the State Division of Administrative Hearings. So Mr. Levitt is here, and we're going to ask him to come to the podium to address the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, President Williams. Pleasure to be here today. As Susan said, there's a petition pending, and this board needs to give us some direction as to how to handle it. Under the process, Dr. Bright has a right to petition for a hearing, and the choices are the board itself can actually hold the hearing, which would require either the entire board or a delegated member of the board to actually hold an evidentiary hearing, which don't know how long that could last, a day or more. Or the option under the statute is to delegate that to the Division of Administrative Hearings, who would then assign a hearing officer to actually hear the case. That hearing officer then makes a recommendation, a recommended decision as to how to proceed, and then that ultimately comes back before the board. The board, as an administrative matter, would be bound by findings of fact, but the ultimate conclusions of law would be up to the board. So various agencies do it different ways. This college has not had one of these for a while. We have had one over the last 20 years or so. But it is our recommendation, just knowing the process that's involved, that the board delegate or assign the matter to the Division of Administrative Hearings to hold a hearing, and then that process will be followed, and ultimately it would come back to you all.
I move that we delegate this matter to the Division of Administrative Hearings for the recommendation of counsel.
Second.
We have a second, and before we vote, can I just ask one question?
Sure.
What is the timeline typically for something like this, if this is delegated?
They would assign a hearing officer. A hearing would be probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks for the hearing, and then a decision would be written thereafter within about 20 days. And then there's a process for exceptions to be taken, so it could get back to this board. I would say it is a somewhat lengthy process, but probably in the 3 to 4 month range before it came back to this board.
Mr. Chair, I have 2 quick questions. Who selects the hearing officer?
We just request one from the Division of Administrative Hearings in Tallahassee, and they assign someone to it. They have a cadre of hearing officers. They hold hearings in these types of matters and all state matters. It might be an environmental matter or
Sure.
something else, but they are to assign someone who has experience or knowledge in the area of, employment, things like that.
And then my second question, just for the board's purposes, this can be appealed even if, no matter what the hearing officer says, right?
Ultimately, it gets appealed back to this board, and as long as the board follows proper due process, that can be appealed to a court of appeals, but they would have to claim some type of violation of due process or constitutional violation. But basically, this board decision would be the final decision absent some irregularity.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? With that, we will vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your
Very
time.
much, appreciate it.
I'm just glad Mr.
Mr.
Foster
Chairman?
made that motion.
I would just like to say that 20 years ago, or 30, I think it was
Probably
30 years ago, that we had the last one that was here, and I was chair at that time, and it was going to be 2 days, and we spent, and Mark was at council for us, we spent the entire week, and it was the week before Christmas, hearing that. So you made exactly the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Lang.
I'm just glad that Chairman Foster made the motion because he's a real lawyer, so if this goes wrong, we can blame him.
Okay. We will move on to the consent agenda. There is no old business. I would like to break up the new business into two different motions and votes if we can. The first part is the grants and restricted funds contracts. I'd like to take this all at one time.
So move, Mr. Chair. Can we, make a motion that we accept all the grants and restricted funds contracts.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. And we'll move to the second section, which is construction-based. These are all action items as well. Do I have a motion to approve all of the construction items as stated?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. That moves us to Budget and Finance with Mr. Brian Miles and Ms. Jeanette Hahn.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members, and Dr. Williams. This morning I have a brief report as of October 31st on our budget. First, focusing on our revenue for our student tuition and fees, we came in at $36.2 million for this period in the report. And one of the things I want to note in this period of the report is that this includes 7 days of registration for October. Our state funding, we've received $19 million and a total revenue of $57.1 million. So now to talk a little bit more about our tuition projection, we see the red line is our projected budget amount of about $50.9 million. And right now we're projecting to be 50.8. If you remember last month, we were a little bit above that projection. Right now, in the 7 days of the registration, we were a little bit under what our target was, so we're about $52,000 under the projected amount. This is important because we need to continue our efforts towards recruitment and also focus on our student retention. Next, to focus on our expenses, we see here our personnel at $37.8 million, current expense at $8.7, and capital at $928,000. We have continued the trend of spending less than we did last fiscal year. As a total in all categories, we've spent about $2 million less than we did last fiscal year, with a total revenue over expenditures at $9.6 million. This concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Good job.
All right, thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you very much. We will move to administrative matters, human resources. There are 2 action items. We can take these together. Do I have a motion for both of these items?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And that moves us to strategic priorities and the presidential transition team findings. This is what we, of course, wanted to spend the majority of our meeting discussing and talking about and getting an update on. And I want to start by inviting Mr. Adam Goodman to the podium and thanking him for all his work for the past few months leading this transitional team.
Thank you.
Well, it feels like opening night here. First of all, I want to offer my congratulations on behalf of the entire Presidential Transition Committee to Mayor Foster. You know, you served this community so well for so many years. This is just another on top of a very large pile of achievement. Congratulations. Dr. Williams, welcome to our presentation. Board members, Chairman Stonecipher, great to see you again. I can't tell you what an honor it is to stand before you and representing really 29 people that came together and cared enough to make a difference at the urging of Dr. Williams to look not backwards but forwards. I'm Adam Goodman. I'm chairman of the SPC Presidential Transition Team. By way of background, for more than 30 years, I've served as a national communications, media and strategic consultant for corporations, business and industry, trade associations, and at times public officials across the land. I'm also was also named last December, as the first senior Edward R. Murrow Fellow at Tufts University, my one academic credential to put before you. I was asked by Dr. Williams to chair this committee to bring an outsider's perspective to a lot of people who have a lot of experience with the family. And so I was both limited and open, and you might say unlimited in my ability to kind of see maybe what was so obvious. And so what I was prepared for was an incredible experience. What it became was remarkable. 11 weeks ago, 29 people came together from all across, by the way, all across the SBC family, representing faculty and staff and students, people who had a long experience with the college and people that were somewhat new to the experience, online and offline. The mission was to define and redefine where we're going, who we are, and more importantly, how to get there. Better, more effectively, more efficiently, perhaps, than ever before. We also wanted to make a point of benchmarking, of finding a way to measure success. So it wasn't just a matter of putting things out there, but how do we kind of grade ourselves, that's a good word here, as we start to move forward, and also remain flexible to opportunity. The one thing you're going to hear from one of the presenters today is an attitude here where we start with yes. We start with yes and we move from there, and that should really be kind of the spirit, in my opinion, of the SBC family. I also personally challenge everybody involved to think creatively, go outside the box, and always focus on the most important customers we've got, which are our students. We began, somewhat led by Dr. Williams, with the 4 C's: culture, communication, collaboration, and creativity. I like alliteration, so everything I can do to get there. And so we had, so we got started. And the first session was somewhat, I'll use the word again, remarkable. For the first time, this group got together, and frankly, I wasn't sure what to expect. And what happened was an amazing outpouring of respective and constructive ideas about how to move forward. And as people around the room were talking, you could see in the body language of all the 29 members, some of whom were meeting each other for the first time, there were these aha moments where they said, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't understand that, which of course got us very quickly to one of the things you'll hear a lot about today, which is the need to communicate. We also started with a very simple organizing principle, which comes into the word. We need to communicate better, more powerfully, more strategically, more humanly, less bureaucratically, and again, with the customers first and foremost in our mind, our students. We also began with a fundamental premise, to be the community's college, to have a better understanding of how to reach out and inspire the community to join with us, to turn to us, and ultimately to depend on us to come through. By the second session, we took things a step further and we targeted 6 areas, and what was interesting is how quickly the 29 members of this committee got to the same place. and to the same 6 ideas. And with the incredible help of Tina Fisher and others at Collaborative Labs, we found that when we polled ourselves, we were polling the same way. I mean, in a nation that's somewhat divided today, we were united around these 6 ideas, and it made it much easier for us to start to move forward. We also looked at the areas where we believe we could have the most effect the fastest. I wanted to make sure there was a sense of urgency that was underneath all this to impact student retention, community buy-in, faculty and staff morale, and most importantly, school spirit, that one thing that emotionally bonds everyone to the SBC experience. The 6 areas that were chosen, as you can see in front of me: communication, branding, student engagement, student support, community involvement, and maybe most importantly, efficiency and organization. In the third session, we delved deeper, not just defining these challenges, but sketching out possible remedies. And we went into breakout groups, and then the groups themselves reported to the full committee. And that actually led to most of what you're going to be seeing today in your packets, the information, the recommendations. In the fourth and final session, it was report time, where we weighted headlined ideas to action. Everybody weighed in, everybody engaged, and everyone in the room communicated. Everyone. I want to thank Christina Fisher again at Collaborative Labs, who was invaluable in this endeavor, just awesome. If you haven't been to Collaborative Labs, go. I want to almost live there as a professional. I mean, what an amazing place. I also want to thank Jonathan. I don't know if Jonathan's here, for the fantastic artistic renditions. I'm not sure who's who in that caricature, but we're all there somehow. And certainly the spirit of what we created is there as well. And so today, I'm pleased to report our findings and recommendations to you and to every member of the SBC family, representing where we are and where we're going. First up, communications. Shannon?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Williams. My name is Dr. Shannon Ulrich. I am a faculty member at the Clearwater campus, and I am the president of the Faculty Governance Organization. I am proud to be a part of the SPC family, and I'm honored and excited to be a part of this team. Communication is caring. We want to empower the college family to provide clear and consistent communication through an organized structure and process. Our focuses included one voice, one college. We want to ultimately create more accessible and consistent communication methods, leading to a more inclusive culture. Beginning with creating a college-wide calendar with extensive filter functions. In addition, we recommend minutes or executive summaries of strategic meetings with leadership be shared with all in some type of online repository. We recommend streamlining and simplifying the number of systems used to communicate in order to mitigate confusion and improve communication effectiveness. Specifically, we recommend, and get this, one website, one email for students, and one email for faculty. We also would like to collapse the number of online information locations, for example, SharePoint, One College, My SPC, into one, taking into account the Technology Review Committee outcomes and recommendations. We want to promote healthy top-down and healthy bottom-up communication. We are a dynamic institution with incredible employees. Currently, we severely lack opportunities for bottom-up dialogue across the college. We want to open opportunities for suggestions and possibly enhance creativity, as well as help create a culture where all stakeholders feel heard and can provide input. We suggest instituting an internal suggestion box or system, for example, the Grapevine. We also suggest representation of additional college stakeholders at executive committee meetings, including the provosts, deans, safety and security, and career services. We also want to do what works best. We recommend identifying a task force to develop a standard but flexible protocol for information sharing that is practiced by all, with the goal of timely debriefing and regular updates college-wide. We want the college family to receive timely and relevant information. We suggest outlining and following a communication chain of command based on best practices. We believe this can create a culture where communication is depoliticized and valued by all. And one final suggestion. We feel it would be beneficial to hold an annual communication workshop with our top-down communicators to assess efficacy of current communication practices. Prior to the workshop, we suggest surveying the college community to identify areas of weaknesses, gaps, and strengths. We feel this will encourage regular analysis of our current communication practices and serve as a reminder, communication is in fact caring. And if communication is caring, communicating our message to the public is branding.
Dr. Ulrich, sorry, before we move on, can we, after each segment here, can we ask questions? Does that work for everybody? And then if things are going to be covered later, you can just tell us it's going to be covered later. That way we don't, I have a short memory, so I want to make sure I hit. The only question I have, and this may be answered later, these are great ideas. What was discussed within the transitional team as to how do we take it from a document that's going to be on a bookshelf somewhere to something that's active and we're making progress hitting on each of these points going forward?
So we had a couple tiers, and one of the documents that you all received was our Excel sheet. And within that, we have champions. So we have people that are looking forward to being a part of those initiatives and getting those rolling.
Perfect.
And we also talked with Dr. Williams about having a kind of presidential advisory team that checks in on these different initiatives routinely to make sure that we are in fact doing what we say we want to do.
Great.
And not just announcing them to the world and then sitting back and nothing happening.
Perfect.
So will this spark a new marketing or communications plan to the public? Is that what
That's upcoming.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
One of the things that we plan to do with the report to make it a living, readable practice for us is taking this information and creating a strategic impact plan, and these items will be embedded in that plan. It'll also include our accreditation requirements, the performance-based funding, where we're going to create an overall 3-year strategic impact plan.
Good.
This will be a part of that. So.
Any additional questions?
Just big picture, did you all look at the cost of implementing any of these strategies moving on? I know some of these things, when the technology report comes forward.
Yeah, we
I'm
did
sure
not
we'll-
look into the cost because we knew that there was a lot of analysis going on with the Technology Review Committee.
Right.
So we didn't want to replicate their efforts.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Trustees, and Dr. Williams.
Morning.
I'm Rita Farlow. I am the Assistant Director of Strategic Communications. I'm also a proud Titan, and I am very honored to serve on the transition team. We know that branding is more than just a logo or a typeface or colors. It's the fundamental building block to trust and relationships. Our brand at SPC is about our commitment to our students, their families, our faculty and staff, and the community that we serve. This commitment is our good name, it's our history, it's our reputation, it's our campuses and our services, and it's how we meet students' expectations. We've grown this organic brand for 90 years now. We believe it's time to capitalize on that and enhance the brand. Branding must permeate the entire institution. We are all representatives of the SPC brand. To create a sense of ownership, we recommend a committee or task force of college family members should be convened to develop this unified, consistent brand. Once completed, the materials should be put into a user-friendly format and branding manual that promotes a consistent look and feel for all print and electronic media. A step-by-step guide that's easy to use that includes proper usage of colors, typefaces, and logos. To strengthen and reinforce our brand, it must be visual and vibrant and everywhere you look. When you are on campus, you shouldn't have to struggle to see our branding or our logo. As one committee member put it, if you have to look for it, it's not visual enough. Our brand should be especially predominant in buildings geared toward the student's first experience. We want to really create an emotional connection with our students from their very first contact with SPC so that they know right off the bat that they are part of SPC and that they are a Titan. A consistent college image provides a positive perception and is crucial in setting us apart from our competition. As part of our brand strategy, we also focused on messaging. Campaigns and slogans that support our brand must be fresh and catchy, easily remembered and associated with SPC. These must reflect our student focus and also say to the community that we are proactive and nimble as an institution. For instance, come to SPC, we have what you need. You'll hear some great slogans throughout the rest of the presentations today that are complementary to the development of the SPC brand. A couple of examples that came forward are Stronger Together and Have a Titan on Your Side. Lastly, to reinforce our brand, we must recognize and reward success. Promotion is needed to bolster alumni support and to build community pride. We need to recognize alumni and inform the public that prominent local leaders are SPC alumni. We have a real opportunity to simultaneously inspire our students and elevate SPC's presence in the community. Recommendations include a Titan Hall of Fame, which would be built around real people and real stories, and their contributions to SPC in the community. These recognitions would be displayed on campuses and in buildings frequented by students. These branding strategies will help us engage our students. And with that, our next topic is student engagement, but I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Can I just say, after Francis helped me 5+ years of trying to talk you guys into a Hall of Fame, Titan Hall of Fame, thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
That is, I have chills. I'm so excited. I think that that's amazing and probably the best branding thing that we could do very, very cheaply.
Yes.
Wrong word, cost efficiently. Also, the brand manual, I would love to be a part of that. And so if it's possible to include me in those conversations, that would be
Absolutely, we
something
would
I'd be
love
proud of.
that.
Thank you.
And then I have a question on the committee. You said there would be a college family committee. Would you also consider some external folks? And let's make sure that we include the marketing faculty who teach marketing, and they have some ideas when we go forward with that.
Absolutely, and I think involving the community would be a great
Yeah, I
thing, as
think
they're
that-
one of our major stakeholders.
Good job.
Any other questions? Yes.
Just by way of an update, because I was with Frances last week and she talked about the foundation funding some of the branding
Yes.
on the different campuses. Can you tell us about that? Because it's like an easy check mark.
Sure. So Francis could probably speak better to it than I could, but I believe that they're installing the Titan logo on all of the campuses in different areas. I know that we got a request to flip it so that, I think it's the Gibbs campus, they're going to have it facing on the doors, so when you come in, you see the Titan each way. And so definitely the Titan, which has been developed over the past year and a half or so, you're seeing it more prominently on campuses, and we're trying to use it in various materials. So that's an ongoing piece of this. I think we've had a lot of great feedback about the brand, the Titan logo.
Thank you.
Are we going to talk to our customers, meaning the students? Are they going to be on this committee to make sure that we brand?
Absolutely. We would like it to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
broad-based,
Because
cross-functional.
ultimately, that's what we have to touch, right? And I want to make
Absolutely.
sure that we have the avenues to be able to touch our customer.
And Trustee Gibbons, they were on the committee as well, so they've been a part of this discussion all along. I think there were about 4 or 5 students.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, good morning, Mr. Chair, trustees,
Morning.
Dr. Williams. My name is Frank Yurkovich. I'm the Student Life and Leadership Coordinator for the Midtown and Downtown Centers. Been a great opportunity to be part of this committee and the transition team. A lot of good ideas have come from it. We know that SBC students that are engaged walk the stage. You guys might remember from last month, there was a report given by Professor Newsome and Mr. Gill about students that are engaged, have a higher retention and success levels in the actual classroom. So we want students just to basically get involved, because we know engagement equals retention and success. There are higher success levels. So we have so many different opportunities here. We just want them to get involved in something that they feel is of interest of them. We want this to be an ongoing thing all the time, not just, hey, we did it once, we're good to go for a year. It needs to be an all-the-time type of conversation going on with stuff we have. We know it leads to success, so we want to push that towards the students. On-campus connection. We know a lot of our students are on campus, and we have a great connection with them through different types of activities and stuff going on. We have a Meet Your Professors activity that we do on some of the campuses to engage students a week prior to enrollment time. So it's a great way for teachers and professors to announce what they're teaching, also pass along the types of syllabus they're doing. We also want to encourage some friendly competition, some types of engagement with faculty and staff, maybe trivia nights, escape room, those types of ideas. We have a ton of athletic teams, as all of you know. Right now, the volleyball team's headed to Kansas on an airplane to go compete for the state championship. Very exciting stuff. We just heard about the men's basketball team last year. So we want to do things to promote that in connection with the Titan logo and all the Titan feeling. So why not have tailgate type things prior to the competitions and basketball games? So we want to be able to promote that to the community as well as the students and staff. We also don't want to forget about off-campus. We know we had a lot of fun on campus and things like that, but we also have some opportunities off-campus. Maybe a Friday where the whole college is a volunteer day. Students, staff, family, everyone can get involved and participate together, you know, elbows side by side and working on a project in the community, helping each other or having a good time. It's great camaraderie. We want to be able to do that. Also, we have tons of local sports teams, the Rays, Rowdy, things like that. We want to promote those teams, maybe have a college day out there as well, maybe do a museum day for the college where we go out, have a little reception or something like that, where everyone kind of come together as a family and create that bonding with students as well as staff and faculty. We have a lot of technology. We've heard about technology. As we condense that technology and find the avenues of which ones are the best for us, we want to leverage that technology to connect to our students. We know we have a large portion of our students that are online and don't get to have that opportunity to connect to our students that have on campus. So we want to be able to use some of that technology to leverage, just how we had the sports teams on campus and have tailgating parties. Why not leverage that and do an online type thing? We already stream the games through technology. Leverage that technology that we're using already and stream those games to online students so they can have opportunity to see that stuff, as well as other campuses. We could do a watch party on downtown, midtown, Clearwater, and have it all funneled through technology and have a little activity and event around it so students feel part of that Titan pride. We could have Titan Talks. I know Dr. Williams did something a couple months ago where she spoke to online students through a Q&A type session. We had that technology available. Clubs, we have clubs on campus, but we can't look at clubs on campus like we do online. They don't want to, a lot of online students don't want to commit to a certain time every day. So we need to look at how we can mold that into maybe having a single mothers art club, and where they can maybe post their things through a blog or some type of discussion board where it doesn't require a set time they have to meet. So we have a lot of different things like that. The conversation will never end. I think we have to always remember that our students and our campus and our community is evolving. So we need to not think what we did last year is going to be the right answer for this year. We need to keep moving forward and seeing what the technology and community and things like that is requiring from us, and keep that type of going. So it's a very important thing, I think. Student engagement is a big thing. We know that they're engaged. They're going to walk the stage. They're going to graduate, move on to bigger and better things, and that's what we want to kind of create that bond with them at SBC. Next, Ms. Fatma Hadea is going to talk about how we support the students. We know we want to get them engaged, but now we have to support them in their endeavors here at SBC. And that reports my, any questions?
This is more a comment and preview for us for next month's session. I think something we saw during the presidential interviews and that kind of happens every month when we talk about struggles in the college or challenges with communication deals with the multi-campus nature of the college. So I think these ideas of getting the students to really feel engaged and part of the college as a whole is going to directly feed up to the faculty and the administration's ability to then make it a seamless transition no matter what campus you're taking classes on. So I think it's wonderful that you all had some really tangible, strong ideas to cross the campus lines and get everybody engaged in that. So
I think that's a good point, Ms. Cole. I also would like to see more inclusion. I see a lot of things that we will do, but I get complaints and other things all the time, and feedback, let me say not complaints, feedback that we need to be more inclusive of all cultures, race, ethnicities, and along the lines, so that we have programming that fits everybody across the board in all of our campuses. Tarpon's campus, of course, is going to be very different from downtown, midtown, and Seminole. So, you know, I would like to make sure that in the student engagement, not just in student engagement overall, there's an inclusion component to make sure that we're tracking diversity, that we're tracking who we utilize in our processes for contracts and other things, so that overall we can go back and make sure that we are being very inclusive throughout the county, because the county is very different in all. And Seminole is different than Tarpon, of course. So I just want to make sure that we're doing that as well, because we may engage a student, but we may not engage a ethnicity or a race, or we may be doing something wrong because everybody has different cultures and things that they believe in. You know, we have the Jewish holidays off, right? But maybe we're not, maybe we should be doing something to support the Jewish holidays. Maybe we should be doing something to support our Muslim students as a part of the engagement plan. So I'd like to see some inclusion and some other things added. Maybe that's in here, I just don't see it, and that's why I wanted to bring it up.
If at the Moving the Needle conference, one of the things on the student panel, which by the way you did an amazing job, there was an African-American gentleman, there was a Hispanic gentleman, there was 2 girls. And when they asked what their recommendation was, every single one of them said, get involved. You were in there, you know that. Get involved. But, you know, I mean, that is something that there was inclusiveness in that panel, and it is something that, I mean, at work, if you're not engaged, you quit. In your marriage, if you're not engaged, you quit. You know, I mean, it's, but I was convinced that those 4 students on that panel would walk across the stage, and it was really great to see their engagement. So.
You make my point exactly, Trustee Bello. Exactly my point. Those students said get involved, but if there's something that they can't connect to or they don't feel connected to, they won't, right? And so we need to expand further than just what's, diversity on the stage is great, and I want to make sure that we continue to do that and seek that, but we also need to, you know, for example, one student told me, in fact, this student graduated from SPJC over 30-something years ago, and I can't remember, but Mr. Lang may remember, there was we had a student newspaper that was run by the students at that time, and that was that person's way of getting involved on campus. We no longer have that. There may be other things. Well, it was a student-operated and ran newspaper at that particular time, and that was their way of getting involved. They said that they also had an opportunity to be a part of the USF festivities in downtown St. Pete when they were just in a Marine barrack downtown or something. And so there were different things that were here that I think we got away from just a tad over the years, but we can bring back to connect. Other thing is career tracks. Well, inclusion could include career tracks, engineering programs or engineering or science clubs and those types of things that those students can get involved. You have to have a place for all students to engage and get involved. So
Right.
you make my point, exactly.
I think it would be important, Trustee Gibbons, that we bring to the board the things that we are doing. I think that a part of what Chair Stonecipher talked about, getting involved and being out there and seeing what we're doing, you would be amazed at the inclusivity of the work we're doing and the creativity of how we're doing the work. And so I would ask that you allow us to bring some of that back so that you can see exactly the work that the faculty and staff are doing with our students. I do agree that equity is still important and inclusiveness is important to us. That's a big part of creating the community of care. And that's caring for everyone in that community and making sure that they are being well received and appreciated. And Trustee Gibbons, I also agree that we should make sure that all of our contracts are diverse vendors and can bring the culture of the community that we're trying to expose all of our students to. And so we'll bring those pieces back. But we'll also, I'm going to take you up on your offer. We're also going to invite you to participate with us in some of these initiatives so you can see what we're doing with engineering and what we're doing with different groups. I think overall you would be pleased, but there's always room for growth.
I would entreat you to bring those things to the board, but I would more importantly tell you to engage the student and let them bring it back to us what they want, as opposed, because I'm 30 years removed from this. I can't tell you what, you can tell me that all day, but that doesn't mean that I know what gets these students involved in school. So bringing it to me, that's great, but I'm just telling you, engage the students so that we know that this is what they really want. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear what the students want.
But also, I think it's good for the board to know what we're doing, so when students do share, you'll say,
both.
oh yeah, we're doing that. So I hear you on that, and that's why we have students on this team as well.
How does it work now, when a student first comes to SPC, are they handed a list of all the different clubs and activities that are out there, and then they're kind of left to their own devices to connect? Or is there a way to follow up with the student at a certain point? And obviously we can't force anyone to engage, but sometimes when you get a list of 1 million different things you can do, it's overwhelming. And unless you have somebody to kind of take you by the hand and say, hey, why don't you try this, and encourage them, they don't have the ability or the want to step into a room of strangers and do that. Is there anything like that currently? Is there?
So there's actually several things we have in place. We have a workplace, which is a Facebook platform that engages all the students. Everyone's been enrolled in that, and each campus has a separate Facebook page kind of thing, but it's for internal connection. Also through the academic communities, that's part of it. We also have, every campus has big kickoffs each semester, usually during the first week. It's multiple days,
sure.
Engaging students that are walking by, whether it's giving them some popcorn, food, things like that. We obviously have the advisors that they meet with, the academic advisors, that let them know of all the different types of activities we have.
Good.
We also have calendars posted on all the campuses. The great thing is, too, is that Facebook or workplace platform can have anybody post to it. Faculty can post to it, students can post to it and engage people that way. But as well as on campus, we have great faculty members that'll make an announcement, say, hey, we're having a luncheon this afternoon. Why don't you come by and stop by and have lunch with me? So it's basically all over the campus, as well as online. If students want to do the online part, they have that there. So I guess it gets touched at different levels,
Right.
from faculty all the way to academic advisors and in between.
Good. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
And members of the board, and of course, President Williams. My name is Fatma Hadea, and I am the Student Government Association President at Clearwater Campus. It is an honor to be a part of the SPC family and to support the recommendations of the Student Support Subcommittee. Our theme is SPC, the support you need to succeed. The following are our recommendations. College-wide mentoring to mentor success to help our students balance their academic and work schedules while addressing their life issues. We are proposing a college-wide peer mentoring program throughout our campuses. This program would promote to new and current students in our certificate and degree programs, college services which are available, leading to much greater awareness and usage of them. SPC is there for you on and off campus. Through the peer mentoring program, students would know to use services such as Women on the Way, on campus and online tutoring, as well as Baycare's Students Assistance Program. We would also like to recommend collaborating with outside partners on a child care program which would benefit both students and our college family. Align on campus and online. While online courses provide needed convenience to our students, we recommend providing additional online out-of-class support for courses beyond general education. In addition, offering more on-campus options for those courses and programs which are primarily online would provide much needed options to students who prefer to require on-campus courses, including our veterans. This would be something for everyone. Through proposed programs such as peer mentoring, students would learn of opportunities and to get involved, such as participating in student organizations and promoting our athletics programs. This would build our Titan spirit and greatly increase student culture, engagement, and involvement. In the words of one of our subcommittee members, once you get involved, you stay. It doesn't end with graduation. From the previously mentioned efforts, students will know that SPC provides opportunities beyond graduation, from using career services for job placement to progressing to our bachelor's programs or to university partnership centers. Our students will know they are supported from the very beginning. A major theme here is that involvement is key. Ms. Jackson will be the next one to speak about that. If anyone has any questions. I am that student, by the way, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Dr. William. My name is Kimberly Jackson. I'm the Academic Department Chair for Social and Behavioral Sciences at the Downtown and Midtown campus. And I'm here on behalf of my group that's here in part to support today to discuss community involvement and why we are excited about being involved in our community. And I just wanted to start by saying our vision has a roadmap. At SPC, our vision should be we are our community college. If you walk around the community, almost everyone you know has gone to our school on some level, has been involved in our school on some level, has taught at our school on some level, and really cares about our school at some level. But for some reason, that message doesn't always translate, and we want that message to translate. And to do that, we have to master our potential because we have to have a plan to achieve that. One of the plans we want to do is have effective partnerships that transforms lives. These partnerships in our community, we have many partnerships in the community, but I don't know how effective they are because we don't know what we're doing with each other within the community. And we want to streamline that process so everyone knows who are our partners, highlight those partnerships, and really explain not only what they are doing for our students, but what SPC is doing for these different partnerships. We want to achieve this. We want to have measurable goals and leverage our resources to increase this community partnership. This means identifying all of our current partners and our future partnerships so we have more of a basis of what we're doing with them, why we're doing it with them, and what we hope to achieve with them. And we want to create sustainability in our community. We don't want to work with one partner for a certain period of time and then stop that relationship. That relationship should be ongoing for our future students to take advantage of the relationships that we have in this community. To achieve this, we would like to either purchase or use an existing management software program to identify these current partnership gaps and create a key person whose task is to become the community outreach officer. So we want to, what you need is what we have is what we want to be. And that individual is going to be charged with making sure that there's efficiency within our structure with our partnerships. We also want to have a culture of yes. When an innovative partner comes to us, we want to be able to deliver what they want and not miss out on opportunities and have those opportunities go to another college. So in order to do that, we have to be open to many possibilities and be willing to say yes first and figure it out later. We'd like to increase our community and collaboration, and we want to be the place for our partners, and we have to identify the gaps in order to do this. These relationships are not only with the community, with our partnerships, they begin very early on. Partnerships begin with our K through 12 population. We have many of these students, and we have an abundance of students where we want not only SPC to be their best choice, but their first choice. We want them to understand the wealth of opportunity that exists within our community and the many titans, as you call the Titan Hall of Fame, who come and make SPC in our community so great. We want to support that ambassador program. I can't tell you how many people come to faculty members and say, I love what I do because of SPC. You can ask any student, they're around our community and they love SPC and they are privileged and appreciate not only what they did here, but where they go abroad. And finally, we want to expand our FUSE and our FAMU Ignite program and increase that visibility in the Pinellas County school systems. They need to know what we have to offer, whether they choose to stay here and complete that process or whether they choose to move on. And in order to do that, we want to align our current successful departments, our workforce, our internships, foundation, civic engagement and marketing, and to a community partnership office that would be led by that officer to enhance that efficiency and effectiveness. And of course, I'm willing to take questions, but with that being said, afterwards, I'd like to introduce the person who's going to be speaking on behalf of efficiency, and that's Benjamin Woods. I'm happy to answer questions. No.
I just want to say, personally, I think it's so critical to be able to engage more with the community, whether that means potential students in the future or business partnerships and what can we do to help them, what can they do to help us. And I love you talking about streamlining that process and making it more efficient and making sure we're all on the same page with what that means. And you know, it's my hope that this becomes a larger and larger piece of what happens into the future. We are the college of this community, and that means we should be involved in just about everything that this community does, especially with the amount of campuses that we have here. So thank you. I love the direction this is going in.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Can you define partners as
Yes,
you
I
guys were
can.
referring to them?
And that's not a dumb question. That's actually an excellent question. For example, a lot of people at SPC, whether you're a faculty member, a staff member, or student, are very well connected in the community. And we go out and we create partnerships with, for example, the mayor's office, or with Jable Circuit, or with Tech Data, or with Raymond James, or with the artists in the community. And we have all these things going on where we have our students either interning with them, or they're supporting us with financial donations, or in-kind donations, or they're asking us to have a specific trained population, or trying to expose students to different activities. And these are they're really the community partners in the businesses in our community, but not just businesses on a broad spectrum. These are individuals. These are small organizations. These are organic groups. And whether you're a business major or an art major or a theater major, we have enough connections within our community to say, who do we go to if someone wants to be the next Angela Bassett and they want to go to the American Stage or some of the other theater houses in town and the direction that they take? Or who do we want to go to become our next congressman, and they want to follow Congressman Bill Aracas, who was extremely kind to us, by the way, for the Model UN team. Who do we go to? And we don't want 5 to 12 people talking to one entity. We want the entity to know who they should be communicating with at SPC to create a sustainable and efficient process with our partners.
Right.
I hope I've answered your question.
You have, and I assumed that that's who it was, but that's always dangerous. May I suggest, if you have not thought about defining that somewhere, that you define that somewhere, and that someone actually wants to be identified as an SPC partner. And if I'm Jable and I'm not, I want to be, because I'm seeing what Tech Data is getting or what HSN is getting or something.
We actually, as a team, explored that process, and it was quite exhaustive because we started naming all the individuals that we work with, and then we just thought we needed to go a different route rather than identifying who the partners are, who is the contact for the partner, what we've done with that partnership. But we did start that process of creating this exhaustive list and trying to connect, and that's how we got to the point of, we have a lot of departments already doing this. It would be better to house them under one umbrella to allow that team to work with the community.
And I completely agree with you. I'm just saying, if you want to drive other people to want to be involved in the college, if we were identifying them as partners at particular levels, and making Jable want to be at the level of Tech Data or whatever that looks like, which is an exhausting process, but I think it is definitely something worth spending time on.
Thank you for the recommendations.
I agree with that, actually. I think that you have to define what partnership means for each individual, so they know what their responsibilities are and what ours are.
But I think by having a Hall of Fame of partners or putting them out there on the website saying, here are our partners, you want to join, you want to be a part of this group, here's the benefit, here's what, if you become a St. Pete College partner, here's the benefit. And I think that is the value of the list, but it also helps the left hand know what the right hand is doing, so we don't all go for the same partner and make a mistake. And so I think that's a good idea. Thank you so much. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Kimberly. Good morning. Mr. Chair, trustees, Dr. Williams. My name is Benjamin Woods. I'm a student services specialist at the Seminole campus, and it is definitely with great pride and pleasure to have been a part of this process. I can tell you that a lot of effort has gone into this, and Dr. Williams kind of was worried that we weren't going to be excited enough about presenting today, but it is definitely exciting.
Yes, I was.
So we'd like you to, on this particular report, we'd like you to keep in mind this small phrase: efficiency creates empowerment. Our subcommittee has identified 3 important focus areas that need our attention. First being, we feel we need to take a look at our organizational chart. It's been observed that it is confusing, raises questions as to who reports to who, and whether or not there may be power struggles within the structure. Excuse me. In response to this, we do recommend an organizational chart restructuring task force to streamline authority. Through this, we will improve collaboration, which leads to improved point of service response to our students, and we also recommend including academic, student services, and business service professionals here at SPC, and provide recommendations within a 45-day time frame. We also recommend a review of academic and student services roles. Within these roles are those who are filling the roles currently empowered to enrich culture and improve communication within the SPC culture. We also recommend more clearly defining leadership positions. Let's improve and align communication and collaboration at all levels, up and down the chain, to better complete their tasks. By implementing these types of ideas, we will have an organizational chart that is organized, a flow chart that flows, and clarity within the organizational structure. This leads us to our second focus area of need, addressing the resource allocation competition. By prioritizing schedules for operations, student services, and for courses, all to enhance the student support culture, to include course offerings as well as hours of operation. Reviewing, our second recommendation for this would be reviewing facility resource allocation by campus and for strategic alignment. Let's focus resources based on facility needs, student use of facilities, and the impact to student success. We also recommend optimizing current technology systems. One potential low-cost, high-yield action step, and maybe some low-hanging fruit, is reactivating, fixing, or creating an effective course waitlist. Let's empower our students to tell us where the demand is. Let's have less waiting on waitlists, and let's leverage and prioritize our resources. And finally, but definitely not last and not least, we believe that we need a reward and recognition system and support for it for our employees. We recommend an Employee of the Year recognition system of value. This will target and focus on faculty, AMPs, and career service professionals by recognizing our high performers and ultimately enriching our culture even further. We also recommend appropriating a budget to support this incentive program. By empowering SPC creativity and using our creativity to further enrich our internal culture, we can improve employee morale, motivation, which ultimately leads to success. And we lastly, but definitely not least, as in regards to this particular area of need, we want to include our students in this conversation. By placing a high priority on student perspectives with regard to how we are doing as a college and how our individual employees are doing, we can empower our culture even further. Recognition equals happy employees. With small investments, we can achieve big results. So through efficiency, through alignment, and through recognition, our students, our employees, and our Titan community as a whole, together, we can all have one Titan vision. Together, we can have the eye of the Titan, and together, we can be empowered to succeed. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
I have a question. In reference to the Employee of the Year Award, and you said you want to include students in the process, and then you made a comment sounding like you want the students to rate the employees and, all employees, where students would actually evaluate them or give some feedback. Is that my understanding?
It is. In the discussions, we talked about having a survey evaluation system where the students, maybe it's part of the SSI or something in their My Courses, where they could go and they could be part of that discussion, complete the survey, and it's going to be from inception to when they come to us as a new student all the way to when they graduate. But a survey system is one of the things that we talked about.
So I'm saying if I'm a financial aid accounting clerk, students will grade me.
They have the option of providing input and their feedback to whoever is their point of service professional that's working with them.
Okay. I would ask this team to look at the various surveys that we do grant our students, and they do complete on a regular basis. So we'll need to see how we could do that. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. That was my only question.
My only comment, and I'm sure this will be fleshed out as we get further along with details of these plans, when you talked about reviewing resource allocation by campus, which I think is a great idea overall, just want to make sure when we're looking at, the 3 points were alignment by facility needs, student use of facilities, and impact on student success. However we begin to formulate this and define it needs to be extremely clear, so that we all can come to an agreement as to why something's being rated a certain way, and this is why certain resources are being allocated. I just would hate for there to be any gray area and doubt as to how things got sent where. But
Yeah.
Thank you.
As long as you're not adding to the cost of education.
Right. And I think the other one is the restructured task force, 45 days, and there's a lot that goes into restructuring.
It's not a small thing.
And I do see that as a big part of my role as well. And so from your report, my goal was to take your report and look at our resources, the funding that we have. Anytime we start talking about changing positions and titles, we're talking money. And so sometimes that drives our ability to do things the way that we would like to do them. And so that may be a piece that we may have to look at in a different way.
Agreed. Thank you.
Along the lines of money, this goes to both your presentation and community involvement, but I think throughout this I see such an opportunity for the foundation to be involved, or for us to really work with Frances and her office and how this fits together with the college as a whole as a direct support organization. I am now the board's delegate to the foundation board and have spent some time learning about the direct service organization role and how it fits in. And I think there is such an opportunity for us to clearly define or redefine or maximize Frances and her staff, collaborating with the other departments, and not have the foundation work in. For so long, it seems as though the foundation's been focused on scholarships, which is what we are doing. We're giving students the opportunity to come, but there is such an opportunity with our community partners to really get out there and make a difference with some private dollars. So,
Follow up on Trustee Cole's comments. I totally agree. I think we should find a way to get our DSO working along side by side with not just this part of the organization, but also the community stuff. And simply because you're sitting here, and this is another group, the museum up here, the Lipa Ratner, which I've served on once, and now I'm serving again. And we have come up with a plan for them to be self-sufficient. And I think that's one of the things that the foundation, along with the recommendations we have here, we should be trying to see how we can raise more money and the DSO can become self-sufficient and provide more money to the college as a whole, so that we can not only provide scholarships, but provide more opportunities for our students when they leave, and be able to have the true partnerships that we talk about.
Good job. Good comment.
I mean, that's really where our corporate partners come in.
That's right.
In St. Pete, we did this Top Apple Award, awarding high schools that had achieved top grades for their grading system. And all of that was community partners, corporate partners. And so we raised money to recognize the efforts of administration and principals and staff. So that's a great way to engage corporate partners. They love stuff like this.
Like that. Wow, that's good.
Thank you all. To wrap this up, we
you.
give it back to Mr. Goodman.
Good job.
Okay, that was just our first run through. We're going to do it again. Well, thank you very much on behalf of everybody that you've heard from today, and everyone else that's been on these committees. The 4 weeks feels like almost 4 months in terms of, I think, the progress that we made, and actually the kind of the bonds we created amongst each other. It's just how quickly and how easy that happened. It was interesting to hear this conversation because gained the questions from from all of you on the board was somewhat similar to the conversations we had over the 4 weeks within the group. It was nice, Trustee Cole, to hear you address the whole importance of engagement moving up, that once the students feel the engagement, it trickles up to the faculty and the staff and everyone else in the family. To hear Trustee Foster talk about the community partnerships, which he understands only too well, both inside and outside the St. Pete College family. Commissioner Bello, Trustee Bello, we had 54. Okay.
We'll take it.
We'll take that. We had 54 specific recommendations. I know that's a little dizzying. Well, you just added the 55th. I think your idea on branding and on the power of the ideas that we can bring forth together are really important, and that we need to follow those. Trustee Gibbons, who put a big exclamation point on the need to make sure that everything we represent embraces diversity and inclusiveness, and I think that has to be something we take very seriously moving forward. And I like some of the ideas, frankly, that came out of this, like the Titan Hall of Fame. I mean, who doesn't want to be in the Titan Hall of Fame? I would nominate, if that's okay, it's not my role to do this, every member of this committee. They really did measure up. And so you've heard from 6 members of our team, our family, presenting 6 pillars to build on, 6 initiatives to improve from, and 6 visions to lead from. By design, this report is abridged. I mean, we went after 6 specific areas. It didn't include everything, I think, that we need to address. For instance, student retention. We didn't address that specifically, and yet everything that we talked about has to do with embracing and engaging the student. We didn't speak specifically about budget, and yet everything we talked about, especially in Benjamin's presentation, that bears on efficiency and organization has everything to do with our ability to fund the things we know are necessary to be successful into the future. We started with the 4 C's, but we added, which were culture, communication, collaboration, and creativity, which led very naturally to a 5th C. And it should have been obvious from the beginning. And that word is community. We are a community. And it's a community that you really want to be a part of. I mean, I almost want to go back now and start again, because this is the kind of family I'd really like personally to be a part of. And because it really shows that this is a college that wants to up its game. And is ready to up its game. So that when anyone's asked, okay, so what makes SPC so special? What's it all about? We want to hear things like this, that SPC is a dynamic institution on the move that empowers its students to succeed, that engages the community to help it succeed, and that creates a pathway to learning and achievement grounded in creativity, collaboration, communications, and a values-driven culture, a special place where everyone pulls together as one. Why? After all, we are the Titans. And with that, we are open to additional questions. I'd like to bring the rest of the presenters up and understand that we do want to stay involved and a part of this. Every member of this team is very committed. And Trustee Stonecipher, to your ask about how do we do this, we are identifying the champions within each of those pockets. And the one charge I made up front is let's make sure that what we talk about is doable, practical and doable, as opposed to just another burden of having to come through on a bunch of great ideas that didn't seem to ever get out of the box. We want to not only get out of the box, we want to make that a part of the experience of this college moving forward.
Absolutely. Trustee Foster.
Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you. I know this was a labor of love for you and the rest of the members. Thank you all. This was hard work.
Can everybody come stand?
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, we'll probably say some. This is our chance to say thank you and to say nice things about you. But I loved what I've heard so far, and I know that this is just the beginning. I love the idea that we are not a community college, we are the community's college. And there's a huge difference in where you put the comma. And we are Pinellas County's and the region's college. And I want us to continue to brand just like that. I want us to be that choice for those seeking to continue education after high school. It's interesting, and I'll just say it. We knew as a board, we knew there were challenges. We had, enrollment, budget. We see graphs and charts, and we follow colored lines, and so we knew that we had challenges. I don't think we knew the scale of that until there was a change. And I think Dr. Williams is the right person at the right time. We went through one season. We're going into a new season, and it's very refreshing. I think I'll never forget one of the things that Dr. Williams said in her interview, and it was in response to a question that I had asked. And she was very candid, and she talked about the staleness. She was very candid and talked about the staleness that we were going through. I mean, there was a reason that there were some union efforts, and there were reasons for some enrollment challenges. And we were stale and set in our ways. And we found the right leader at the right time for the right season. And it's going to be wonderful. The communication, top down, bottom up. She's already started breakfast with the president, and I think engagement with the president is key, not only with students but with faculty. Some buzzwords that I heard: communication, action, streamline, attitude, engage, fun. It was fun. I had fun in college. I had too much fun in college. But education should be fun. It should be fun for the faculty. I mean, you've dedicated your lives to serving others and helping students achieve, and that should be fun. Going to work should be fun. Going to class should be fun. Mentoring. To steal a phrase from a previous president, yes, we can. I mean, the yes part. It's a culture, partnerships, engagement. So these are all action words. And so, Adam, thank you. To the members of the transition team, thank you. One of the things that we didn't get into today, but I look forward into the part 2 of this, is in the performance measures. You talked about it in your opening. I was waiting to hear how are we now going to measure success? We had those in the city. And we posted them online. These are our goals, this is our mission, and these are how we measure success. I think that's very important as we go forward in this. But this was a good presentation, and thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to say this is a great report, and thank you to everybody that was on this committee. The hard part now is going back and trying to see how we implement all these great ideas, which are needed. And then, Dr. Williams, I would ask that if you could have Mr. Goodman come back every month and make a report. I feel like I wanted to run out of the tunnel again at Florida Field after he got done there. He's so inspiring.
Yes, he is.
But let me say this to the entire committee. You had one heck of a leader. I've known this man for over 20-something years. When I started out as a young professional, he was one of the people that I hooked on to learn how to be a professional. And I know that from the remarks that I've got from a lot of the folks on the committee, that you did an excellent job leading this. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to do that. Yes. Thank you. But I also want to thank all of you, because the college will only get better if we all come together and be a family, and we give our honest ideas and our honest impressions of where we work, live, and play. And I think you all did that, and I think we have now an even tougher task of taking those things that you put on paper and that you've communicated to us that would need to be done and moving that process forward. So don't be surprised if I call you because I want to get more clarity about how we move this forward or what you think we should. And I think the board should do that as well. I entreat you all to do that because the only way this document becomes a living, breathing reality is that we all dive in and try to move it forward with the president. So thank you all again, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you, Dr. Williams, for putting this together. I think it was the right step at the right time, and I'm just interested to see how we move it forward from this point. Thank you.
Thank you as well. I had, one of the things that Dr. Williams and I have been speaking about since I joined the board this spring was our general strategic planning at the college. And when we were in Seattle last month at the Pathways Conference, I asked what I thought was a simple question. I think I got several different answers from Dr. Cooper and Dr. Bernard and others who were there when I said, well, we've done so many initiatives and we have this great student plan through Pathways that we've implemented and are doing all of these things. How does that interact with the other initiatives that we're working on in the college's strategic plan? And I got some very honest feedback that, well, right now we have a lot of initiatives and we don't necessarily have a master plan. So I was thrilled to see on our agenda that next month we are having a strategic planning session, an extended strategic planning session. I guess at this point I would ask Mr. Chairman if I would hope that part of next month's strategic planning session on our side is working with Mr. Goodman and the transitional team with its report. I don't know practically the best way to do that, but we certainly don't. What the worst thing would be is to have a transition team report that is another plan and is not incorporated into the college. And I think you saw the enthusiasm of all of us that we want to include those things. We also, I think, are practical on budget, time, staff, organization, some of the things that we're challenged with doing. So I guess I'd ask you, Nathan, to work with both Dr. Williams and Mr. Goodman or the right person, how this becomes part of our plan for next month for strategic planning. Yeah. And then my goal would be that, and some of the things that I've talked to Dr. Williams about is not only having an immediate plan, saying this is what we need to do and these are strategies for the next year, but what is our 3-year plan, our 5-year plan? Right. We have a vision. I think maybe somebody was eavesdropping because at our table in Seattle, we talked about adding community to Dr. Williams' 4 Cs as well. So we were talking about that, and but what I would like to see us do through the next several months is taking our strategic plan and really creating our 1, 3, 5-year plan for the college of exactly what Mr. Goodman said. Absolutely. I mean, how are we making this such a great organization?
So Trustee Cole, I want to follow up on that. So here's what the idea and the notion to having the transition team and why it was so important to me. Right now, we do not have a very strong strategic plan. And so the goal was to take the work of the transition team with the action items and make sure that that information is a part of a 3 to 5-year plan, which will include a whole lot of other pieces that we're being held accountable for through the state or other areas. So we were going to get with Andrea Henning in the collaborative lab, Chair Stonecipher, and sit down and put a process in place for next month's workshop to get the board's overall vision as to where they want the college to be in 3 to 5 years. And then we take these pieces and work with the college family on a strategic plan that comes back to the board. Trustee Givens, I know you mentioned you're going to call each one. Thank you. If you, that's exactly where I was going. So if we could do that so that I could work with Mr. Goodman and the team along with the executive leadership, so we can all work on this plan together, because at the end of the day, we all get to sit at the table and have the same meal. And so we need your voices at our table, and that's why this was done. I have to say, I am very... You're very resourceful. So,
Very resourceful.
so I have to say I'm extremely proud and I'm extremely excited about the work you've put in. I'm so grateful for your honesty. Trustees, if you haven't read The Real Deal Holyfield, this is it. And there's a lot of detail in here that I think will help you really understand the overall recommendations. And I've had a chance to read this last night. I wrote on my original copy. Such great ideas, such thoughtful input, and you told the truth. And that's a part of open and honest engagement, is getting the truth. And I am very grateful. And you're right on point. I don't think there's anything in this report that I'd say, nah. You know, it is all good stuff, real stuff. And we have some hard work to do this, and we'll look at how do we do that. And I think next month we'll be looking for the trustees' wisdom and leadership, and we'll take that to actually put together a very strong strategic impact plan that identifies who we are, where we want to go, and how we're going to hold ourselves accountable. So I am very proud. I was never scared. I just want y'all to know that. I had high expectations, and you totally exceeded those expectations. And I'm just very pleased to have the first part of the roadmap. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members?
Mr. Chair, I would agree with Trustee Cole if there's a way that we can engage next month.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it'll be.
That would help us a lot.
I think that's a good
I
idea.
love calling the president, I don't have to worry about it, I will call.
You need to call.
Sure.
I also would like to hear feedback from the folks that were actually in the room and committed to make sure that we are actually implementing things that they were talking about in that process.
Right.
Absolutely, that will be
You all
done.
can probably come up with some way. I'm willing to stay a little longer. We need to, get it right. And I'm sure most of the trustees will be able to do that too if we need to. But you all can come up with something that would be very helpful.
That will be done. I just want to say, and I don't want to spend too much time repeating all the comments that have been made around this table. I want to add my own thanks to this group. This was an important group of people to pull together at a critical time. Change in leadership often leads to both anxiety and excitement. And my hope is that what this group has brought together pushes us more towards the excitement part of that pendulum swing, because I think that's where we all need to be. And it starts with this type of communication and planning. We all have a lot to do from this, as we now see, but that's fun work to do, and it's work that we're going to enjoy and hopefully enjoy working on together. And I know how busy all of you are in particular, so to take time out of your schedules and focus on this, which is critical to the college right now, we thank you so much. And a few things that excite me is when we talk about engagement, engagement of the students, but also engagement with faculty and staff, and what that will build to as far as retention is very exciting. And then also talking about a visual, vibrant brand that is seen in the community, which I think will lead to more enrollment.
Exactly.
And then the partnerships in the community as well. That's going to help to build a strong foundation for this institution for years to come. So you add all three of those things together, and we're doing a lot to help the budget without actually talking about improving the budget.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to be. So thank you all. That's all I have to say, and we will take this and we will discuss it a lot in the future with your help. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Goodman, please stay for a few minutes. Don't leave.
Did I do something wrong?
No.
Okay.
No. Thank you so much.
There are no informational reports for this month, and we're going to move at this time to the President's report.
Thank you. So yesterday, I had the privilege of going to Tallahassee to speak in front of the Senate Education Committee in reference to Senate Bill 540, which is a bill that was put together by Senator Huckel, and the college presidents are working through this bill. There's a piece of that bill that talks about baccalaureate degrees, limiting baccalaureate degrees. It talks about a different leadership structure for the Florida college system. And I was asked to speak about the 2+2 articulation agreement. And so I was proud to say that SPC had already started these agreements in 2016 with USF and the FUSE program, as well as the most recent one that we're doing with Florida A&M. We also talked about how we need to continue the 2+2 with our K-12 partners in the vocational schools or the technical colleges. And we already have a meeting in place with Dr. Cooper, myself, and a couple of people to meet with the superintendent as well about a 2+2 or an agreement from the technical college to St. Petersburg College. The committee has decided to move the bill forward. And so there is no coinciding bill right now on the House side, so we're still hopeful that we'll be able to get our voices heard in that process. So that's where we are with that bill. I think you should know that we are continuing to stay involved in Tallahassee and taking those road trips. I'm learning my way to Tallahassee and through the state capitol. So it's been very good. I want to thank Ed Woodruff. He's not here, but it's been very helpful to me with that. The other thing I want to share is graduation is next month, and this is the largest attendance we've had in December ever. We will be using the church overflow for families to sit. Some of them may be watching graduation via the screen because this time, as you know, in December we have 2 graduations back to back. We have lunch in between, and we usually have about 350. We've got more like 500 coming to each graduation ceremony. So we're going to need security there to make sure we help the families who are going to be a little disappointed that they're not in the actual auditorium. I believe Dr. Renard's team has informed the students that it will be heavily attended. I suggest you're there on time or early, Trustee Gibbons, so that there's a parking space. Do I need to pick you up? No, but just very proud of the interest for students who want to be there at graduation now. It seems like we're getting a lot more traction in students who want to walk across the stage. Frank, thank you for those who are engaged walk across the stage. I'm going to use that in my Rotary conversation on Friday. And then the other thing I want to share is thanks to Provost, I was going to say Strickland, I keep confusing them, Rod Davis, for inviting us here to Tarpon Springs, home of the Lipa Ratner Museum. The museum staff are ready to welcome you if you want to take a tour. We have a new set of art there to share with you. And so if you have about 10 minutes to walk through the museum to see that and the good work that they're doing, the team would be very appreciative if you took some time to walk through. So for the transition team, some of you don't work at this campus. You might want to take a look at what other SPC family members have an opportunity to see on a regular basis. And so if I don't see many of you before the holidays, I hope you enjoy your families during this time. We have a lot to be thankful for. And so I wish you all well and hope you have a great time. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Our next meeting will be my favorite meeting of the year, our strategic planning workshop, which will be December 12th at the Epicenter and the Collaborative Labs.
Yes.
And with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good job, everybody. Good job.